The void was not empty. It was a pressurized, suffocating silence, a weightless expanse where potential existed in a state of agonizing paralysis. Imagine standing on the precipice of existence itself, where the ink of the universe has not yet touched the parchment of reality.
You have a vision of what could be, but you are trapped in a featureless gray, an absolute zero of purpose.
If you were handed the keys to reality at this exact moment, would you tremble in the face of such raw, unformed possibility, or would you seize the command? Before the first star ignited, there was only the architecture of intent. This is the oldest, most profound secret of the human experience. Nothing meaningful manifests within the chaos of the mind until it is distilled into a decree. In the ancient record of creation, the cosmos did not accidentally stumble into being. It was called into existence. It was the result of a precise, rhythmic articulation, a declaration that forced order upon the formless, transforming the static nothingness into a structured, tiered masterpiece of time and space. We often mistake procrastination for a lack of time, but it is actually a failure of command.
Like the primordial void, your life is often cluttered with the debris of half-formed ideas and unassigned priorities. You feel the pressure of your potential, yet you drift through the days without a concrete blueprint. You are waiting for the circumstances to align, waiting for the path to clear, waiting for permission to begin.
But the universal design teaches a starkly different truth. You are not meant to wait for clarity. You are meant to speak it into existence. To master your own life, you must adopt the strategy of the architect. Take the abstract, swirling clouds of your ambitions and break them down into distinct, sequential phases of output. Stop viewing your tasks as an endless, overwhelming mountain of obligation. Instead, partition your energy. Define your days. What is the singular, non-negotiable vision you are commanding to manifest today? When you stop drifting and start declaring, you cease being a casualty of your circumstances and become the primary force shaping your environment. The void is not a barrier. It is simply a canvas waiting for the weight of your intention to give it shape. What will you declare into existence before the sun sets? You wake up within a sanctuary of exquisite complexity, a landscape where every leaf, every stream, and every horizon is calibrated to provide exactly what is required for life to flourish. It is a masterpiece of environmental engineering, yet you are not a guest meant for idle observation. You are placed in this garden for a singular, non-negotiable purpose: to work it and to keep it. The ultimate question facing the modern soul is not whether you are in a paradise of opportunity, but whether you possess the discipline to cultivate the landscape you have been given. We often labor under the delusion that meaningful existence is found in the pursuit of leisure or the avoidance of burden. We seek an effortless state, dreaming of a life where the fruits of success fall into our hands without the labor of the harvest. Yet, the ancient wisdom tells a different story. Even in the pristine dawn of humanity, paradise was not a state of passive rest. It was a state of high-stakes stewardship. You are hardwired for productivity, designed to interact with your environment as a gardener who understands that the health of the harvest is entirely dependent on the quality of the tending. Your garden is the specific domain of influence you occupy: your career, your craft, your relationships, and the very architecture of your own character. When you treat your work as an inconvenience, you become a stranger in your own territory, watching the weeds of neglect stifle your potential. But when you adopt the mindset of a master steward, the perception shifts. Every task becomes an act of curation. You begin to understand that you are not merely performing duties. You are safeguarding the integrity of your own growth. True purpose is rarely found by escaping the complexities of your current responsibilities. It is found by mastering them. This is the profound paradox of the human condition. We seek freedom, but we find our greatest sense of self within the boundaries of our own contribution. What are you cultivating with intention today? Are you pruning the distractions that drain your vitality? Or are you allowing the garden of your life to become overgrown with the chaotic foliage of indecision? To work your garden is to accept the responsibility of your own trajectory. You were not created to be a spectator in your own life, but the architect of your own flourishing. The atmosphere shifts, growing heavy with the weight of a singular, shimmering temptation. Standing at the intersection of profound potential and ruinous desire, the narrative turns to the ancient archetype of the forbidden exchange. Here, the promise is simple. Ultimate insight and elevated status, delivered instantly, bypassing the long, arduous road of wisdom. It is the perennial siren song of the shortcut, the whispered suggestion that you have discovered a secret key, a hidden path to mastery that the rest of the world has somehow missed. In the quiet of your own ambition, you have felt this pull. It arrives when the path ahead looks too steep, when the requirements of discipline seem too demanding, and when the allure of a quick gain masks the decay of its foundation. This is the moment of peak psychological vulnerability. You are offered a fruit that promises to illuminate your eyes and expand your influence, yet you are rarely told of the cost that follows. The trap is not the object itself, but the surrender of your process. By seeking the result without the labor, you effectively dismantle the very integrity that would have allowed you to sustain the success you crave. Analyze the mechanics of your own impulses. When you feel the sharp edge of temptation, whether it be in your professional ethics, your financial decisions, or your personal commitments, recognize it for what it is: a disruption of your long-term alignment. The adversary's pitch was a masterpiece of misdirection, framing a catastrophic trade as an evolutionary upgrade. It is a psychological distortion that blinds you to the consequences while magnifying the appeal of the immediate advantage. True risk assessment requires the courage to pause when you are most excited. If an opportunity seems to offer a bypass of your core values or a premature reward for unearned work, that is the exact moment to retreat. The forbidden fruit is always marketed as a gateway to hidden knowledge, but in reality, it is a veil that obscures your better judgment. You are the final arbiter of your choices. When you feel the pressure to compromise for an accelerated gain, recognize that you are standing at the threshold of a decision that defines your character. Wisdom is not found in grasping at the forbidden. It is found in the patience to cultivate your harvest through the legitimate channels of effort, honor, and time. Integrity is the only investment that guarantees long-term stability in a world obsessed with the fleeting appeal of the shortcut. The air in the field hung thick with the heavy perfume of unvoiced grievances. Two paths lay open, yet only one was met with favor, leaving the other to wither in the shadow of perceived inadequacy. This is the origin of the internal fracture, the moment where the weight of rejection transforms into a corrosive, smoldering heat. When expectation meets the cold reality of failure, the psyche faces a definitive test. Will you allow the bitterness to take root in the soil of your spirit, or will you master the impulse before it commands your future? Cain stood at the precipice of his own collapse, watching his internal landscape darken with the encroaching fog of resentment. It is a familiar architecture of the human experience. We pour our energy into an endeavor, we attach our identity to the outcome, and when the recognition we crave does not arrive, we search for a scapegoat. The mistake was not in the failure itself. It was in the surrender of governance. By fixating on the success of another, he allowed his own potential to be eclipsed by the dark gravity of envy. He forgot that the mastery of one's emotional state is the most vital requirement for any true advancement. You will encounter seasons of perceived unfairness. You will witness others ascending to summits you believe you have earned, while you are left to cultivate the lower ground. In these moments, the temptation to harbor resentment is a poison that flows inward, eventually rotting the very foundation upon which your own progress is built. The lesson here is as ancient as it is piercing. You must rule over your impulses, for if they are left unchecked, they will inevitably lead to the dismantling of your own legacy. Emotional intelligence is not the absence of frustration. It is the tactical redirection of that energy. When the sting of disappointment rises, do not allow it to ferment into a narrative of victimhood. Instead, dissect the impulse. What is the root of your agitation? Is it a genuine critique of your own performance, or merely an ego-driven reaction to a lack of applause? To move forward, you must detach your self-worth from external validation. Discipline your internal monologue, pivot your focus back to your own craft, and refuse to let the shadow of rivalry obscure your vision. You are the sovereign of your own reactions. Ensure that you govern them with the foresight of a master, rather than the reckless heat of a reactive mind. The passage of time often feels like a blur, a chaotic sequence of events that seems to lack any coherent pattern. Yet, within the ancient chronicles, there lies a rhythmic, deliberate cataloging of existence. It is not merely a dry ledger of names and durations. It is a profound testament to the power of the long game. While modern culture fixates on the instant, the viral sensation, the sudden surge, the overnight arrival, this historical record whispers a different, more durable truth. The true weight of a legacy is found in the relentless, quiet continuity of the march.
Imagine a lineage extending across centuries, each link in the chain bearing the responsibility of maintaining the fire of purpose.
These figures did not seek the spotlight of the present moment. They understood that their lives were merely individual chapters in a much grander, unfolding narrative. Their lives were defined by consistency, the steady, rhythmic beat of showing up day after decade. In a world that often rewards the loudest and the fastest, there is a quiet, insurmountable strength in the ability to simply persist. This is the principle of compounding influence. Just as small interest rates on an investment grow exponentially over time, the tiny, disciplined choices you make daily accumulate into a legacy that spans generations. We often overestimate what we can accomplish in a year, but we consistently underestimate what we can achieve by remaining committed for a lifetime. The individual who masters the long game understands that success is not a singular act, but an enduring habit of character. They do not get distracted by the shifting winds of popular opinion or the temporary allure of quick shortcuts. Instead, they remain anchored to their vision, understanding that their primary role is to bridge the past and the future through their own steadfast conduct.
What are you building that will endure beyond the immediate horizon?
When you view your work through the lens of longevity, the frustration of a difficult Tuesday or a stagnant season loses its power over you. You begin to see your life as a structural integrity project, where every honest day's labor acts as a foundational stone for the future. True influence is not measured by the height of your current climb, but by the breadth of the path you have paved for those who will follow. Do not be seduced by the frantic pace of the present. Embrace the quiet authority of the long term. Your legacy is not an event. It is the accumulation of every consistent step you take today. As we arrive at the close of this cycle, from the initial spark of intentional creation to the profound necessity of preparing for the inevitable tides of change, we find ourselves standing in a position of reclaimed authority. You are no longer merely a participant in the current of circumstance. You are the architect of your own history. The ancient records we have explored are not relics of a forgotten world, but blueprints for the one you are currently constructing. They remind us that the struggle between order and entropy is a constant, and your ability to navigate that friction is what defines your character. Consider the narrative arc of these chapters. You have learned the power of declarative intent, the sanctity of deep work, the vigilance required to identify the hidden costs of shortcuts, the necessity of governing your internal emotional landscape, the quiet, compounding force of consistency, and the vital importance of building your resilience before the crisis arrives. These are not disparate lessons. They are interconnected pillars of a sovereign life. You hold the pen, and the pages ahead remain unwritten. Do not look to the horizon for permission to begin, nor look to others for validation of your progress. The masterpiece you are crafting requires the steady hand of a steward who understands that true influence is built in the quiet, uncelebrated moments of discipline. When the world feels volatile, when the path seems obscured by the mist of uncertainty, remember that your capacity to prepare, to persist, and to purpose your days is your greatest asset. The storm does not define the vessel. The design of the vessel determines how it meets the storm. You have within you the capacity to curate a life of substance, to rise above the impulse of the moment, and to leave a legacy that echoes far beyond the span of your own years. Carry these laws forward as your personal doctrine. Let them guide your decisions, refine your focus, and anchor your ambition. You are the sovereign of your narrative, the commander of your intent, and the builder of your future. The foundation is set, the tools are in your hands, and the work is ready to begin. Step forward with the confidence of one who understands that your legacy is not what happens to you, but what you choose to create from the reality you occupy. Your era of mastery starts now.